All right. That sheriff's deed brings us to probate considerations. Page 34. We didn't have an example of that probate. We don't really know what happened in that case. But we know something did happen. And it's likely that somebody died. When somebody dies, and you're fortunate enough to have probate proceedings, it's going to do exactly what we talked about before. It's going to take an inventory of their entire estate, of who they are as a person, as far as what they owned at the time of their death. And it's going to divide stuff up. Terms. Decedent, dead guy or gal. Heirs. Heirs are not people who are receiving something. Heirs are only people who have a potential claim on something. Blood relatives. Spouses. Those are the only two, right? Blood relatives and spouses? Yeah. Or adopted children. Got that. Adopted kids. Potential claim. Doesn't mean they're going to get anything. Because if I die, I can give anything to anybody I want for the most part. Whether I got 1,000 heirs or none. Give a Z. You guys following along? Page 35. A bequeathee. Does that work? I don't think it's a word. It's fun to say. Like non-proton. Somebody who bequeaths something in a will. He's named in a will. Testate versus intestate. Testate, with will. Intestate, without will. Take note of those. The last two are the two that get confused. Administrator, executor, or executrix, which means the female version of the executor. It's Latin, once again. The other Latin.
If the executor is a male, you put executor, and the female, you have to trix.
You don't care about writing that stuff down anyway. You just need to know what it means when you read it. Because we don't really care. We don't even care really about who the administrators are or the executors are. But when you're reading that stuff, you need to know what they're doing, what their jobs are. You don't have to worry about writing it down and stuff. What's the administrator do? All they're doing is they're the ones who are gathering all the information that's going to be given to the court. They're going to be the one that's here. We got to do all the stuff that needs to be done. Make sure we have all the information that's needed, so we can make an informed decision upon this person's estate. Excuse me. On the other hand of that, you have the executor, executrix, that does what? Carries out. They carry it out. Right? If a will says do this, they're the ones that make sure it gets done. Those two are a pain.
Can we sometimes
Or what? A pain.
one and the same person?
Sometimes it can. And a lot of times that one and the same person will probably be an heir and a decedent. It's not going to be the decedent, though. Final decree, we covered what a final decree is, right? It's that last part of that probate that's signed by the judge that says, make it so. There's a few bits and pieces of information. Go ahead and read like the same decree and restrict. I said that right. The important things that you're looking for when you're reading the probate are things like your particular piece of property. And if your particular piece of property isn't listed in the inventory or something that's being handled by the court, then you're going to look for something called a rest and remainder clause or a residual clause. What it's going to do is it's going to say, you know what, and anything else that I had that I didn't know about or that the decedent had that isn't listed here is going to be handled this way, given to such and such a way. Rest and remainder clause. is on page 37. Those are helpful because you'll see a lot of probates where they forget pieces. Because you might, Bob Smith might own acreage all over the country, different pieces, and he might have kept really terrible records. Terrible records. He might not have any idea what he owned. Or he might have had it all up in his head. He knew every bit and piece that he owned. As soon as he's dead, that's gone. We don't know. So somebody's going through his files and records and they're finding deed after deed and they're like, oh, okay, this is great, I got it. Well, they might have only found out half of it. And if it's not listed, you're either going to need a nunc pro tonque, which comes back in and says amend it, fix it. We're going to need like a rest and remainder clause, which says everything else that's not mentioned is going to be handled this way. There's a transfer on death deed information to Kansas up top. Disregard. Oklahoma intestacy laws. And every state that you work in is going to have differences on any number of issues that we've discussed, from how tenancies are interpreted for grantor, grantee, spouses, things of that nature, to duhig not being respected. I went to work for a company that has done no work in Oklahoma, has only worked in Kansas, but all of their education came from Oklahoma. And first thing I wanted to find out was, what are the differences from what I know about Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas? How does that transfer over to Kansas? I need to know what applies and what doesn't. One of the first things I asked is, does duhig apply? And the guy that was out in the field that's been running the crew for a year and been teaching everybody what they're doing said, I don't know. It's a good question. We've just been treating it as if it does. It doesn't. Duhig doesn't apply. There's not going to be a whole lot of differences. There's not going to be a whole lot of problems, but there are probably going to be some problems that exist off of those assumptions. So you always need to find out what the differences are. We focus primarily on Oklahoma, obviously, but Oklahoma is kind of like a pivot point for all the surrounding areas. It shares the most in common, I think, with all the surrounding states. Other than Kansas. It still shares a lot in common with Kansas. Kansas just, it's nuts. They just like to be different. So you're going to want to find out things like, what are the laws of intestacy for whatever state you're working in? Oklahoma laws of intestacy. Have two different dates that you need to know about. Anything prior to July 1st, 1985 will be divided up thusly. Thusly. The spouse is entitled to how much? 1/3. After 1985, 1/2. Everybody else gets their stuff divided up based off the laws of intestate succession. Children are going to get an equal share of the remaining 1/3, 2/3 prior to 1985, and the remaining half after 1985. Grandkids will get a proportionate share of the children's portion. So if you have 2 kids, the wife gets 1/3. Each of the children will get 1/3. If one of those children is deceased, but had 2 children, each one of those children will have a 1/6. So on and so forth. Based on the laws of intestate succession. One of the things that's really important to know about probates and the laws of intestate succession is that no matter what the will says, the decedent's will might give the spouse a 1/4 interest upon death. The spouse is allowed to take against the will of the decedent and go off of the laws of intestate succession at the time. That's what it's called. They elect to take against the will. Meaning that if I die and I grant my wife my will nothing, she was mean, couldn't cook. I give her nothing. The will says the kids get it all, and I leave some to the cat. The wife can elect to take against the will, and if she does it prior to 1985, then she's going to be allowed to take 1/3 of my estate, everything. If it's after July 1st, then she gets a half. There's no argument for that. She can elect to take against the will.
You can't cut her out.
I can cut her out if she agrees to be cut out.
She can,
I can say she doesn't get anything as long as she doesn't raise her hand and contest it, then she's cut out. But it's up to her, not up to me.
Is it true for a husband as well? Or
You
is
betcha. I'm just using an example because I'm a guy. Yeah, the spouse. The spouse is allowed to take against the will. Sorry about that, ladies. I'm a big chauvinist. Speaking of which, you'll never hear somebody say land woman or land person.
Right.
We were informed of this by a real angry man. That you're a land man. This is a man's business, dang it. You didn't say dang it, though. And you're just not going to see it. You know, they tried that. What was it, like the 70s and 80s? There was a big group of ladies that tried to get involved and try to get it moved and said, hey, you know, we're going to be land people or land women who you need to recognize as such. And they were all looking for jobs the day after that. And I didn't make that up. It's sad but true. You know?
there is a lot of women in the business.
There are a lot. There's plenty of room nowadays for both sides. It doesn't matter. All three sides, if you want to go that way. It doesn't really matter anymore. People are recognized equally to most of us, but there's still a lot of those old salty guys who, you know, have a glass of whiskey for breakfast and, you know, smoke a carton of Marlboros a day, and that's them. They're not going to change. Well, some of them, they'll hire, you know, young ladies for morale, which is great. You know, I don't have a problem with it. But it can be superficial. Journal entry. That was another type of order that I skipped earlier, and I apologize for that.
This is another type of order?
Journal entry? Yes. It's going to have a judge's signature at the end. It's going to be in order. If you look at page 40, you'll see an example. It's called a journal entry, but if you look at it, you'll know what it is. Well, once you come to it, it's a final decree. Exactly. What likely happened was it was probated in a different county, and they went ahead and gathered all that information. They went ahead and brought it to a judge here and said, hey, you know what do we do with this? Let's do a journal entry that says this happened. Maybe they died somewhere else. You see it's got a nice little inventory issue, and it tells you what it is, and it's signed by a judge. Most important thing to know is that it's signed by a judge. When was the last time we took a break?
About 10 minutes
I need
ago.
a nap. It seems that way. I think we take less breaks than we used
Yeah.
to. Though.
Yeah, I commend you on that one.
It's not my choice. I'm starting to sweat, actually. It's a million
Every
degrees.
45 minutes.
Question?
No,
Sure?
no, just, you're already smoking.
Sorry?
This guy owns quite a bit of land.
Who's that?
Virgil Harvey.
Oh, yeah. That's nothing. You see some nasty things. You see guys, you know, hundreds of thousands of acres. You have like the Panhandle of Texas. guys who owned 15, 16 sections outright. That's for the most part. On probates, foreign probates, just a probate that's done in a different county, different state. It's going to be recognized that you can use it, but it's going to be considered a foreign probate until it's been filed in the county in which the minerals and surface real estate resides. Foreign wills, foreign probates, we still vest title on. Just make a note of it, but it's not been officially sanctioned in the county that you're in. Let's do a little bit of a review. Kenny, what's a correction section?
Section on the end.
Sections that are on the northernmost or westernmost and westernmost edges of each township that count for curvature of the earth. Curvature. Good? Jesse, what's meets and bounds?
It's when there's land that's not cut up real proper, like in a square. Using GPS locations.
Kind of. It's like following MapQuest directions, but not as friendly. I've got a GPS in my car that's continuously trying to kill me. I don't understand. It's like the Megan commercials.
Is the GPS running like those country roads?
What's that?
Are the GPS devices for accurate on those country roads?
Mine's not.
Okay.
What can
You
you
have to update your map.
Yeah, and trust me, having some kind of nav system, GPS, smartphone, if you get a good enough reception, they're so helpful. And I don't know what landmen did back in the days when they didn't, have that technology. I guess they had to survive one way or the other.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Sure, atlases, and
Just
they didn't.
everywhere. And the maps is-
Back when
Uh-huh.
you guys weren't allowed to stop for directions, because there was not a living soul around
They
anyway.
take their roll and flatten it and shove it.
All right. We're not going to get into leases, but there are a few things to discuss. One of those things is statutory key plus. Now, we're going to hold off on that, just because you need to know some basic groundwork before you get into it. Who's got some questions? We're just going to go on right now. I'm going to review in my head. Questions, comments, concerns? I think everybody else has got that same look in their eye right now. Deer in headlights. All right, cool break. Make it a short one now, about 5 to 6 minutes. Small out. Josh, go.
I keep on stepping on it.
Yep. Yep. And some, it'll take.
So is there test tomorrow or what?
Yeah, ask me if it's open book.
Put in for it.
No, we know it's not open book. Obviously.
Good,
You won't
good.
get that day.
Everybody swears every class I have that I send it's open book.
Right.
So we're gonna
Like, candy to
have a
some
basic
stuff.
overview of everything before you hand out
Important
the
thing to
test.
remember about the test.
And
I'll tell you guys a million more times before we're ready to take the test, but if you have a question about something, anytime you're out in the field, what do you do? Do you ever guess?
No.
Do you ever make assumptions?
No.
So what do you think you're going to have to do if you run into a question when you're on the test? Ask. But don't ask your partner, ask me. When I'm training somebody one-on-one, I don't care who they ask questions of, as long as I also get the question asked of me. Because I need to know where they're at in their training. I also need to know if they got the right answer or not from whoever they asked. It's always very, very, very important to know where you're at, and your capabilities and your knowledge level. There's not a person on the planet that knows bit the oil and gas law, even just in Oklahoma. You know, I have questions that I have to get answered 2-3 times a month. You know? And a lot of the times, the questions I'm asking, I'm, you know, calling a guy who's been in the business for 30 years, as a title attorney. And not always, but sometimes he'll have to say, you know what, I don't know. Like, I got to make a couple phone calls to get back to you. It's a good feeling, you know. You can stump a title attorney with that much experience because it's a question he hadn't seen or ever. Then doing something right. But you always ask me.
It's like $300
Always.
for the stat.
So tomorrow during test, raise your hand. You know, looking through your book isn't going to give you the answer necessarily. Because I didn't just take definitions out of the book, the questions that are on the test. I gave some scenarios that I expect you guys to ask about if you're unsure. Yeah.
What
Test is pass fail.
somebody can
What
just
did
kind
I
of
say?
research on some of
Oh.
the land use responsibilities and whatnot. On the internet, there was landman 1, 2, 3, 4.
Different levels of landman, you know, there's, it's not the same as it used to be. It used to be when you were a landman, you got the job, you did it all.
Yeah.
You were given an assignment, said run this section, you ran it, you got a hold of the mineral owners, you leased them, you did it all. Took care of every bit of it. Nowadays, they've tended towards specialism. You know, you have one guy, you got picture takers. You know, they'll go in and they'll run all up. One guy will go through and do a cursory report. They'll look at a whole section, they'll kind of look at the last, say, 10, 20 years and see who the possible mineral owners are based on the last bit of activity for leasing. These guys leased 10 years ago, well, they're probably still the owners in one way, shape, or form. So they'll go through and do some cursory, and they'll give it all to the leasing agents. Leasing agents will start contact notes. Hey, you want to lease? In the meantime, the title guy will come through and find out who actually owns it and exactly how it's owned. So the specializations are much more separated now than they used to be. When it talks about the levels, there's really only 2 different levels of landman. I mean, everybody's considered landman. Imager to leasing agent to title guy are all considered landmen to people that aren't doing. And to me, a leasing agent's a leasing agent. To me, an imager is an imager. And a guy running title is the landman. Anybody can talk to somebody and sign a piece of paper. Well, you can talk to people. Anybody can push a button on the camera, but the puzzle is in running the title. That's the difficult part. That's also the part that is going to assume the most responsibility if there's a screw up. So the landman is the guy that's running the title. There's also guys that are in the office, you know, project managers, this and that. They're considered landmen, but they're not. They're managers. Level 1 would be guys running title. Level 2 are going to be guys that are running HBP title. So the guys that have, for instance, here's the surface, whatever section you want to call it. Here's a well. They drill that well down to 5,000 feet. And it covers the entire section, 640 acres. There's different formations underground. None of them are shaped that nicely. They're all shaped in funny ways. Formations. And when they drill this hole, they're coming down this well bore. They're going to perforate the pipe here. They're going to perforate the pipe here. They're going to be collecting from different formations at different levels. Well, once they have this drilled, the leasehold owner, the one who owns the majority of the leasehold, who drilled this well, they might decide to sell from the surface to the top of this formation to somebody else, to a different operator. The interest. Here you go. And they might decide to sell a portion of this formation, the interest in that leasehold, to somebody else. They can split it up, fractional interest, just like they can mineral acres. And so on and so forth, until it's so divided up and nasty that you have a million different ways of interpreting the same information. The guys who run HBP title are guys who will tell you who the mineral owners are for the entire 640 acres today, as well as when this well was drilled. And they're also going to tell you who all the leasehold owners are for each individual portion that's separated out. So we need to know, we have a separate report. We got a report for mineral owner for 1975 and mineral owner for today. We also have a separate report for the surface to the top of, we'll just call this the Hartshorn Formation, and how it was owned in 1975 and how it's owned today. And we also have a report for inside the Hartshorn Formation, so forth and so on. You might have inside the well bore and outside the well bore. HBP is held by production. It's got a well on it. That's a well, by the way. My drawings are perfect. HBP is it's difficult at best. It's very difficult. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes you might have a section that takes a couple days. Sometimes you might have a section that takes 6 months because it's so nasty, divided up. It's hard to say, you know. You might have 10 sections, and 9 of them are awesome, but you might have one section that just makes all of the other 9 just not work at all. You just pull your hair out. You'll go blind. That would be level 2. Anything beyond that is going to be in the office. Anything beyond that is going to be prospect manager, which means you're just going to be sitting in the office dealing with clients, you know, handling all the day-to-day operations of running whatever prospect you're on. Prospects being things like the Woodford Shale prospect. You know, and Woodford Shale is a formation that is huge, massive. It covers states, you know, at a depth of anywhere from 5,000 feet to about 12,000 feet, depending on the topography of the land, what sits on top of it. Then you have like the Marcellus Shale or the Haynesville, massive areas that say, depending on how big it is, the prospect could be just Payne County or just Pittsburgh County. No, one guy kind of handles all that area. You know, gets in touch with all the guys out in the field and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. Coordinate with the client, sort of. That's going to be level 2. Those are the guys that want you to have like a petroleum management degree of some kind or another, as well as a lot of experience out in the field. It's hard to tell people what to do out in the field if you don't know what you're doing. They run into that all the time, though. It's a lot of fun. You know, the clients that you get, majority of their in-house guys who are handing out the work, they have never, ever in their lives done any of this stuff that you guys have learned how to do.
What, in-house managers?
In-house guys, yeah. Majority of those guys have never been out in the courthouse other than to pay a ticket. Fun, huh?
That doesn't make any sense.
What?
What do they do in-house?
In-house? Well, they work for the client. Their job is just to tell us what they need.
Oh.
We just need acreage in this area. Handle it. But then they'll call you and tell you how to do your job. They've never done it, so makes it a little
Are
different.
they your boss?
The big question is how
They have the
long-
money. Does that count?
Yeah.
How long
There
is
you
it
go.
gonna take you? How
Whoever
much-
has the money and is paying you is your boss.
I hear you.
By my definitions.
Sure, I'm trying to sign a paycheck.
Yeah. All right. Let's get some people on their feet. We'll go over some more legal descriptions. First things that we handled this morning. In fact, we're going to make some other people do this. I'll take a nap.
Did you mean he was still?
Mina, how about it? Who's the most sleepy in here, by the way? We'll make them get up and
I
do it.
think he is.
Oh, it does.
Is he?
No.
But he's next.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Mark is next.
No.
He's like, sorry.
We're gonna test it out.
What's that? Oh, he'll be next. Oh, he already went once. Just go ahead and either draw something or write something out that you want people to plat.
Call the township and we'll find the everything for it, or
It is. It's actually hotter
write it up there and we'll draw it.
I just sectioned it off.
What you're gonna do, you're gonna section it off and we're gonna find if it's northeast, southwest.
Drop off and color it in, let you guys.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Make it hard.
I am.
No sharpening. Last week.
Oh,
No, last month.
oh, yeah.
Well, then if there was anybody else that recovered, then it would have been.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I always felt so terrible.
I need to do it.
All right, keep in mind, whatever you draw up there, you're gonna have to do yourself too, so.
Right.
That's what she's doing.
So I'm doing it. I better do it real quick.
It's always fun when you get somebody up there that wants to be mean to the rest of the class.
I've never seen anything like it. No, it's not.
Say what?
You can't see
No,
the
no,
top
that's
line
actually,
very
she
well.
got that cut.
It is?
Yeah, it's like the middle.
Jason Whitehead's right.
I've never seen that before, I would like to see that in the middle
Yeah.
third. or
Yeah,
something.
I've never seen it.
Two, that's
It's
two
strange
Andes.
things too, but.
Oh, yeah.
3 to 1 for records.
Oh, yeah. Oh. What is that?
That's the sound house.
What does she have drawn?
Oh. Northeast half.
No, who said northeast half?
I did on accident.
Okay.
South half, north half of the northeast.
What's that?
N2, S2.
I got the north half, south half, northeast.
Yep.
Want to say it again?
North half, south half, northeast?
South
You can get meaner than that, can't you?
I want to.
How many acres is it?
Ooh.
It'd be, 40,
80.
80,
40.
40.
Ryan?
How many do you think it is? My quarter section is going to be 160. Half of that would be 80,
80.
and half of that would be
40.
how easily we forget from just a couple hours ago, huh? All right. Somebody else come up here and draw some more. Joanne, tell me about so you can just we'll pick somebody. I don't care who it is. I guess I do care. Who haven't I picked on yet? Willie, draw some more. Make the class do it. So, you betcha. Joanne, what are tenants in common?
It's the,
You can look it up. I don't mind. Matthew, you're going to tell me about joint tenancy after, or even before. Sorry about that. Just write out the actual track description instead and make somebody else draw it. Y'all draw it, whatever. Your choice. I can find out making my own. Well, well, you got to do it, but you know, whichever you want to do. If you want to write it out or if you want to draw it out. Well,
I don't know if you're on day one or not.
Tyler, that's right. I'm sorry about that.
All right.
Give me an example of an affidavit.
Alright. People say that he knows it does something.
That'll work.
Says, yeah, does not convey ownership, but can be treated as such depending on how long ago it was filed, so still not.
Can you best title from an affidavit? Yeah, not just from an affidavit.
statement someone states.
proving documentation. Yeah, it's just kind of a gee whiz.
Yeah.
Like an example, give me an example of an affidavit.
I'm the owner of quarter property rights.
Yeah, like a statement of ownership or anything, a name change, address change. There's lots of just
Fictional
random
business names.
things that
Is that an
these
affidavit?
affidavits, right?
You mean it says in here that fictional business names that they change?
Well, you'll see business name changes, you'll see name changes of any kind. An affidavit is just a statement of opinion. Could be a statement of fact, but if it were a statement of fact, why wouldn't they do it through an actual conveyance? An affidavit is more of I hope this is that type than I know it's swearing to something doesn't mean it's legitimate. Yeah, I mean, if I'm colorblind and I think the sky is gray, I can swear the sky is gray all day long. But it doesn't make it a fact. It just makes my opinion out of it valid. Based on the information that they had at the time. What is that?
What is what?
It's on the board.
Oh.
You guys are being entirely too nice to each other. Where's your name tag? Hey, Mitch. Come on up here and be mean to your classmates. Instead of, well, you can track it out. Go ahead and draw some fun stuff. Be mean, but you're going to have to do it.
What's that one right there? Isn't that one,
Yeah, I'm not right yet.
What's that? Northeast, northwest, 40 acres?
northeast, northwest? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I got.
If that were section 4, what would that be?
Section.
What did you say? You win. You go home.
What was it?
Lot 3, if that were section 4.
How do you know which sections are in the
No, the lots are on the northwest side.
The right to left.
Whoa, what? What happened? Who had a question?
I was asking how I think you figured out it was one of those properties, and I know on the north border of that,
Sections 1 through 7,
and then 18 through 31.
18, 19, 30, and 31. Those are your correction sections. So if it's correction
18,
section,
19, 30, 31.
if it's sections 1 through 6, we know that the north half of the north half is going to be lots. If it's sections 6, 7, 18, 19, 30, or 31, we know the west half of the west half will be lots.
Let's go back to this a second.
You betcha.
That's the northeast,
It's the northwest
Of the northwest.
the northeast of the northwest.
Yes.
The northeast what?
Quarter.
Northeast.
So just
That's what you filled in.
Northeast
Remember,
quarter.
two directional modifiers will designate it
That's
be
all it takes is two direct, you don't have to have three. So northeast quarter of the northwest.
correct. All right.
I didn't realize you only had to have two directional modifiers at a minimum.
Well, no, as a matter of fact, as a maximum, you can only have no more than 2.
What if you had,
What if you had northeast south? That would work.
He's saying if you cut it into 4s and 10s, is that what you're talking about?
Well, then you'll have another
Yeah, you'll have 3
breakdown.
sections, yeah.
Yeah. 2 directional modifiers per call out, we'll say.
He only had what he drew.
Did you get tenants in common?
Yeah, so most common default,
Default type of ownership, what does it do?
terms separate,
Right.
distinct.
Separate, distinct ownership, equal or unequal shares. 2 or more people owning equal or unequal shares of the same piece of property. Good? Yeah,
They're not held to survivorship.
correct. They are not tied together whatsoever. That's really what you need, the important parts of it. I don't need the exact definition, because the exact definition, I have all kinds of extra information in it. You don't really need that. We don't care if it's the default form of ownership, other than we need to know that if it doesn't specify.
On him.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of layman's terms. You know, you're going to get enough legalese, verbiage, and all the other crap when you read the instruments. You know, and as far as when you're talking to somebody about it, you need to be able to tell them what it is you're talking about. I don't want to talk like a lawyer all the time. You know, nobody wants to hear that anyway. Nobody wants to hear a lawyer talk about anything ever. Tenants in common? Oh, joint tenancy you were doing.
basically,
Yeah, 2 or more people owning equal or unequal shares with rights of survivorship.
And the joint tenants can do whatever they want with their individual percentage of ownership.
Yeah, yeah.
The rights of joint and survivorship.
The only thing that ties them together is rights of survivorship, meaning if one of them dies while still in possession and still a joint tenant, then it will automatically transfer to the surviving joint tenant or tenants. Good?
Mm-hmm.
Tyler, what were you doing? I don't remember. Did I have you? Oh, you already did the affidavit. Hey? Chairs are too tall.
I'm hiding. Actually, I'm trying to be.
Sabrina?
Yeah.
Don't hide. I'll just point at you. What's a life estate? You shouldn't hit. I'd have given you an easy one.
Say, what is what it was.
What do you got? Looks like the south half of the northwest of the southeast.
Say that again?
South half, northwest, southeast. I could be wrong. I'm looking at a bad answer.
You're right.
South half of
Okay.
Northwest.
Northwest.
West.
You mentioned that
South-
they don't always
south-
put the number in
southeast.
there, right?
No.
Sorry?
They don't, you said they don't always put that number, is that right? Like,
Yeah.
south.
Correct. Yeah. I don't show the
Northwest.
number in there.
Northwest.
No, specifically.
Southeast.
You're right.
Most people
Southwest.
try to, but I don't always. When I'm writing up a report, I will.
Yeah.
northeast,
No.
northeast, isn't it?
South
South
half
half,
is northwest
northwest,
of the northwest of the
Whatever.
southeast.
Right.
We're still on it?
Two northwest and then south.
Two northwest.
Was that wrong?
And one southeast.
And one southeast.
Not everybody yelling at once.
Poor guy, you're so confused.
Northwest,
What question did you ask?
south half.
I don't remember.
Four directional modifier.
Clay, what's a severed mineral
Yeah,
interest?
that is a four
10 acres?
Severed?
I'm asking Clay. I do want everybody else to pay attention to the question I'm asking.
Ryan, is it 10 acres?
10 acres? I doubt it. Looks more like 5 to me, but I could be wrong.
5 by 9?
No, it's 20. Sorry. 160, 40, 10, 5. I was right the first time.
So you could have an unlimited number of directional modifiers.
You bet. You bet.
You could sell
I
it,
mean-
and cut those fours into like 6 sections, you know?
Down to 6 decimals. That's fine.
Shut up.
You're going to see it.
Yeah.
You're going to see it. What do you got? 160, 40, 10, 2.5, 1.25, something. I mean,
Draw that
will I
on.
draw it? All right. So it's in the northwest. And it's in the southwest of that, and then it's in the southeast of that, and then it's in the northwest of that, and then it's in the southeast of that, the northwest of that, the northwest of that. Will I draw it? No. You need a bigger map.
Liz, bad at it. Oh, my God,
Mhm.
Which part?
his
Which
eye-
one were you on? I'm sorry.
Donna, yeah, that part.
The one that they tortured us because of it.
All right.
Go down to the, yeah.
There you go. South half, oh my, south half, English quarter, south.
That's what I had.
You lost one of the northwest.
Yes, I did.
Well, here's one northwest. Here's the other northwest.
Gotcha. And do I have to?
That's why it's a really good idea to always, once you've written it all out, go ahead and draw it again to see if you got the right answer. You can always double check your work.
Do I have to?
Always.
Can I
You
put the
should.
quarter in there? The 4? Can I put the 4 in the quarter or not? Does it matter?
Well, that depends on your particular. The reason I say
It's confused too.
I want you guys to be able to recognize it because I tend to skip it quite a bit, especially when I'm doing my own notes and stuff. I got my own shorthand. Now I should, as this is class, I should always put the /4. But I want you guys to be aware that I'm going to skip it sometimes, and I don't want there to be any confusion as to if it means something different, because it doesn't. If there's 2 of these, that's why I go into such great length to let you know. If we got 2 of these directional modifiers, then the /4 is implied. All right? Even if I put it in there, didn't need to.
As long as it's just
2
one.
directional modifiers means that it is going to be a quarter of something. Because you're never going to see that. You're never going to see that. You're only ever going to see a 4
Depends on,
after 2 directional modifiers.
depends on his typing
if somebody, like a Scrivener's error, if they screw something up, that's their bad. It was a Scrivener's error. You have to identify it as just a mistake. You know what it's supposed to be. Fix it.
Yeah.
Keep meticulous notes.
Do I keep meticulous notes?
No,
Oh yeah.
when you get a Scrivener's error, you have to document.
Yeah, I'll write possible Scrivener's error on this. This is what it's supposed to be, and then we'll see if it works itself out as it's supposed to.
But Scrivener, one of them questions I've never heard of.
Call it a scribe's error.
Scribe's error.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what a scribe is.
A Scrivener is just somebody who's.
They miswrote something. I guess.
There you go.
Printed something.
That's it.
Good title, yeah.
Sure is fun to say though. Hey, here, let's hit some more Latin. You're going to see this a lot too.
And the rest.
And
And others. And others. And Al. Oh, which one's dotted? Is it that one? Is it that one? Or is it the other one?
The other one.
One of them's dotted. Doesn't matter. It means and others. What about that? Whenever you see an X in Latin, typically is going to denote female. And wife.
Oh. Is it a U or an A?
So you.
Okay.
Let's see. Al. That here is others. What was the male? Remember the male?
Yeah.
Here. VIR. Hardly ever see that. But what you will see is that UX. What? UX. And wife. I don't know why they can't just write and wife. They had to be all Latin. It's not shorthand. We need more than that. I don't know. This would be shorthand. To me, that's what I use. And wife.
Job security.
Yeah. Really. Sorry? More maps? Yeah, Doug, come on.
Project, what am I supposed to do? Just make one?
You guys want,
Meets and bounds.
no, yeah, meets and bounds, great. Do you want the legal description, do you want the track description to be written out, or do you want the map, and then you figure out what's in it? Go nuts, Whitaker. All right, who was answering my questions that I had? Which one was it?
Severed mineral.
What is a severed mineral interest? Anyone? Help them out?
Interest by someone other than the surface.
It's a mineral interest that's separate completely from the surface interest. Yes. Quickly, we didn't really cover it in detail. But it's just interest that has been severed completely from the surface. Has absolutely no connection to it. In other words, it's going to have two separate owners, or 3 or 5, but no matter what.
You're gonna shout them out?
There you go. Well done. Sabrina, did you answer my question? Was it Sabrina? Yes. You're trying to skip it, weren't you? Trying to get away with it.
Designates the ownership of the land for the duration of the person's life,
I don't remember what the question was.
or the life estate is.
Oh, okay. Right. And it's similar to what? Transfer on debt. The difference being the executive rights. Let's see.
It's 2 tracks.
Joseph,
This is 2 tracks, 2 calls.
you done yet? All right. 2 separate tracks?
2 separate, yeah.
Oh.
This is going to be.
Hey, don't help him, Doug.
Oh,
If you're going to help him, you got to wander around the room and help him. You need to know who's having issues with it. But the first hint, though, is it's 2 separate tracks. Because how else would you do it? Are you going to say it's the middle half of the southwest quarter? No.
Middle half, that works.
I've never seen it, but I'm going to start writing instruments up.
You would know what it meant.
I would know what you. Well, you know what? I might not. Could be the middle half the other way. Without, yeah, exactly, you're right. The middle horizontal half. The lay down middle half of the southwest border.
See some seats still working. Does anybody want to just shout, say what we got here? A
Anyone?
lot of times when you're working at a section, you'll see somebody owns in multiple things, so this is not uncommon at all. They own these two tracks. And it'll
They might
go
own a half interest in the top track and a quarter interest in the bottom track. And you have to separate them out that way if they are.
ways that it could be done. This is the,
That's good to me. And if you need to, draw it out again.
I have trouble writing it backwards myself.
it's the south half of the north half of the southwest, which is right here. And it's also the north half of the south half
Good job.
of the southwest, which is this one right here. Right, you have a semicolon or an ampersand, whatever.
Ampersand. Okay, just call it ampersand.
The place
I
I
don't know why
work
they
for
give it
now
a
is
fancy
this
name.
on an ampersand. It's just wherever you go, you'll raise your hand and say, how do you want this written? And they'll tell you. No.
That was an easy mean one. Good. Round of applause. And work on your handwriting, Whitaker.
Yeah, it's pretty miserable.
Look like you could have been writing in those index books back in 1902. Or? Right. Well, and remember, you have two tracks, right? And what did you have written?
Actually, honestly, I had was 2/3 there. I wrote the southwest corner of the south half, and then I had the
Let's
southwest
see.
corner of the south half.
South half of the north half of the southwest, right? And the north half of the south half of the southwest as well. Is that right? And what was your question?
My question was, I only got 2/3 there, and it just kind of confused me. Think about it, to be the southwest of the north half, the south half. These two to me can be interchangeable.
Well, they could,
Oh, they
but
could.
that's only because both tracks are in the southwest quarter,
Is that why?
and they're identical. I could have written this, the south half of the north half of the southwest, and the north half of the south half of the southwest. Still would have given me the exact same one, as long as I knew that this is A and this is B. However, if I had written them backwards, B and A, and had them labeled, then there would be a problem. But because those two tracks are completely interchangeable legal descriptions, well, no big deal. However, there's a problem now. You can't do that. You can no longer write them interchangeable. So one of them's over here. It gets a little confusing. It probably doesn't help that those of us with experience can just look at something and start writing it from left to right. But when you start out, and I still know people who still do it, but to me it's a whole lot faster to just, so I look at this, I know it's in the northeast quarter of something, so I'll just start northeast. I know it's the northeast of the southeast of the northeast. The smart way of doing it when you're first starting out is start big and go small. Northeast quarter. Southeast quarter. Northeast quarter. It's one of those that's interchangeable again. I could write it backwards and forwards. It's a palindrome. But if it were in a different quarter section, it matters. When you're writing those out, when you're first starting, very good idea to start with the largest portion. work your way towards the smallest portion. Question?
Weren't you using 4s and 2s on there, other than the fact that you just.
Well, I wouldn't use a 2 for this for sure because there's no halves anywhere involved. Unless I wanted to say I had the north half and the south half of the northeast, southeast.
Any SE4, ED4, right?
Yeah, you can
Like
throw
I said,
4s
for
on
this
there.
class, it's assumed that it's already going to be.
If I could train myself to not skip the /4s on there, I would because it's something that, obviously you guys need to see. But you also need to be able to recognize it when you're out in the field or whatnot. If you see northeast,
It's assumed.
you're going to see it like that a lot more often than you're going to see. Stand corrected. Prior to 1970-ish, making numbers up again, you're going to see it written out quarter more often than you're going to see /4. Well, I sure as hell ain't going to write quarter every time. So the quarter is implied.
Won't you also see northeast and then actually a 1/4?
Yeah. Sometimes you'll see northeast
No,
1/4
usually.
or
and you need
north
1/4.
east 1/4. It's any millions of different ways as long as you know what it amounts to. Which is why it's so much easier for me to just say 2 directional modifiers equals 1/4. No matter how thin you slice it, if you see 2 directional modifiers, it's going to be 1/4. I have never seen a northeast 1/8. But what would that be? What would the northeast 1/8 be? Just for fun, even though you're probably never going to see it. What would it be? Does that look right? That's an assumption. I've never seen it, but I would assume that that's what it meant. It's a quarter of a quarter. Which in math-wise doesn't make it an eighth by any means. Quarter of a quarter is 16th. So that does not work. You're only going to see 4s and 2s. When it comes to this class. So like I said, you will see the west third, things like that. But you're going to know what those mean. If there's one for this class, you're going to have to deal with halves, thirds, anything other than 4, it's always going to show you the number. Yeah? Fun? Some of them are test questions. I don't even remember anymore, to be honest. You guys are going to have fun. I need to drop it. The perfect still. All right, give it.
Okay, well,
A, B, C, D, and E.
Oh yeah, let's label those just guys. Where are we gonna start?
Left.
I don't know, what's the middle third?
A middle third? So somewhere in here? Northeast quarter. We're always gonna start because that's
Is that
what you gotta get used to.
That's what I wanted.
Going in counterclockwise. If any of those look off, let me know. I'll tell you you're wrong. Being right and wrong is one of the things that's it's nice to have a big ego when it comes to stuff in this business, but only because you want to be right. You want to be right all the time. It's not about making somebody else wrong. It's about being right. It's never about being the one on top. It's about just knowing what the hell you're doing. You guys want to write this down and bring it in tomorrow for extra credit? Yeah, it's a pass-fail course anyway. Nobody else picked up on that. And when I say pass-fail, there's not really any failing. You know, if you have issues, you can retake the class. You're still going to get a certificate of completion. However, if you get a 30% on your test, and somebody calls me for recommendation, and they ask how well you did on the test, I'm going to let them know how well you did on the test. But that's why if you have a question, you raise your hand and ask.
I'm gonna do this in meets and bounds.
Do it in meets and bounds.
Starting at a point.
You're gonna need a whole bigger sheet of paper.
You're all right.
Only somebody like,
The northeast corners.
somebody's had before me.
What's that?
That's
Meets and bounds.
Oh, yeah.
Describing a perfect quarter.
west.
Well, you know, I told you that they do that, and I don't know why.
I don't know.
They're just mean.
They're just. We're just
I'm thinking I can do like a loop.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about the ones where they're off just a tiny bit, you know,
Yeah.
and they're going on fence lines or whatever, but
Right.
yeah, you do see them that are in perfect court sections.
Yeah, but
They're just lawyers that came from Arkansas, probably, you know, they had no idea. We're just going to do a perfect quarter section and meet some bounds.
I think it depends on the state that you're in. Really.
north one.
Well, like I said, Pennsylvania is all meets and bounds.
Is it?
There are people that have been landmen out east, northeast for 10, 15 years.
I've read some of the titles
And
out
then
there.
they come here.
They come here and they got to take a class like this, or they just quit. They can't handle it, and they got to go back.
300 yards from the stone
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to handle this nice rectangular
Maine,
system.
New
Oh my
Hampshire,
gosh.
all the
Yeah,
colonies.
anything east of the Mississippi is going to be
Wow.
in meets and bounds. Thomas Jefferson was a pretty sharp guy.
303. Okay, keep on.
Some trivia about Thomas Jefferson. He wrote a book, his autobiography. He never mentioned that he was president of the United States.
Really?
I mean, well, he wrote it after he was president too. I guess that's kind of important. Seems like you might, you know, brag about that a little bit. So he did consider himself a traitor.
And he wrote his own Bible too.
Did he?
No, I think wasn't that Joseph Smith who did that?
Maybe that's the goal.
How's that funny? I'm just. Joseph Smith founded the Mormons.
The Mormons? Oh, okay.
Right. It's just another way of looking at stuff. He wrote his own Bible, did he?
Yeah, and he
Based on
admitted.
what?
Well, he admitted the things that he didn't think should have been in there.
Me too. Yeah, why not? That's the funny thing about Bibles, though, is if you write it down, it's because you want other people to believe the same thing you're believing. You know? You already believe it. Okay, great, good for you. Anybody done?
Started my meets and bounds track. So
I-
it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, good. I'm glad, because I wasn't going to check it first. Like, it would draw it out for you. So. I have no idea where to begin.
The northeast corner. And then it's west, 1,320 feet.
Who was it? There was another president that had an autobiography that never mentioned his wife once. I don't remember who it was. Woodrow Wilson, maybe? Married for like 30 years. Let's just go around and call them out then. What's A?
South half.
No.
Northwest corner, northeast.
Oh, what do we got? Hey, I've got, looking at it, looks like north half of the south half of the northwest and the northeast.
Yes,
Get it
sir.
right down.
North half of the south half, northwest and northeast. Sorry. Sorry. This is a quarter section line. Right? So this is the northeast. So this is the northwest. This is the south half. This is the north half of that. North half of southwest. Or north half of south half.
Well, you're looking at that. This is, some of us were interpreting that as a square mile. As
So what I
opposed-
did,
What are you talking about? Yeah, well, that's because you couldn't tell how perfect this was.
Well, yeah, that's where the middle third came into play.
There. Okay. There. Kind of.
Yeah.
Look, you're wrong. Okay. So,
I did it.
it's the north half of the south half of the northwest of the northeast. Yeah, I need a nice perfect grid. I ain't got it in me. What about B?
Okay, so.
Oh. We'll just we'll label that as Scribner's error. All right. So Scribner's error. This is half. Anything below this point is half. I know it's a perfect square. It's hard to adjust when you're at funny angles. What's this?
Northeast corner, northeast corner, northwest, northwest.
Northeast, northeast, northwest, northwest. Excellent. What about C?
Southeast, southeast, southwest.
Can we write them down?
Nice.
Can
What?
we write them so you can see them?
Ah.
Visual, I'm sorry. You're killing me, I can't see it.
That's a lot, right? Southeast, southeast. What is that?
Southwest, northwest.
Yeah, the bottom third.
Good.
Because of that.
How many acres is that?
Between F and G.
I know.
2.5? Is
It looks.
that right?
It should be the same.
60, 40, 10, 2.5. Okay, that went. What about D?
Southeast, southwest, southwest, southwest. Southeast, southeast.
Southeast, southeast. Okay. So it's what?
Southeast, southeast.
Yeah, and the gap wouldn't be between the two.
These are actually kind of
F and G. If it was the south half of the
good.
south
2.5 acres?
half, the
Excellent.
gap wouldn't be there.
E. Northeast, northeast, southeast. Acres.
G? Uh-huh. No, I'm talking about F. Oh, no. I'm trying to figure
Okay.
out G. G does
F. No thirds. I didn't use any thirds.
Right, F would be the northeast.
This is the
Oh, I see.
If that gap was
half.
that open track in between.
Here's the half line. It does look like a north third, though, doesn't it? It is.
It is. See, that's what I thought.
Yeah. It is an accidental third, but yeah. The north third, right? The north third of the south half of the southeast to make G the south third of the south half of the southeast. Is that right?
So that would be the middle third?
Now, well, the middle third is not shaded in, so we don't care.
If it were a tract, how would you describe that? F is in the north.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Or you could do of the south half.
Sorry, what happened?
Of the southeast.
I don't see it anymore.
That's
It's all gone.
Right.
And then you would be.
All right, last one.
Of the south half of the southwest
Right.
And then if anybody wants to stay to get some questions answered, it's a really nice day, so keep it short. What you got there? I did it opposite, didn't I?
That's the northwest third.
Go in the car.
3/4.
Those are perfect squares. Except for the rectangle, that's a perfect rectangle.
and then northeast.
All one?
No, that's two.
How would that be?
There's 3 different properties, right?
Two.
Or no, 2 different ones.
Good idea. Well done. It's a fun one. Well, I like to have other people going up there and being mean to their classmates. The first time I thought Jeremy was here, he was really mean.
Yeah, he was.
But then he had to do his own. He couldn't. You messed it up. Well, my third, so I screwed that all up. What do we got? Who thinks they know it? Raise their hand. Jesse.
Southern half of the northwest and northeast.
Sorry, whoa. Say again.
We've got southern half of the northwest section.
South half
South half, yeah.
of
Northwest.
northwest. We'll say, hey, quarter.
And then I've got northeast, northwest.
Sorry?
Northeast, northwest, northwest.
You sure? Oops. It's a quarter.
One northeast.
You said northeast, northwest? Northwest?
Well, yeah, I thought it was. There was one.
Seems kind of small, doesn't it?
Northwest.
Remember, draw it back out from what your description that you've written down. Do you have any questions about it? 2 separate tracks. This could also be written. Sorry?
East half,
And?
northwest. Oh, and then the south. West.
East half and then the southwest. East half of the northwest quarter and the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter.
Or
Depending on who owns it and how. If it's all one guy that owns the whole thing in the same proportional interest throughout, then you could write it either way. The east half of the northwest and the southwest of the northwest, or the south half of the northwest and the northeast of the northwest. If he's owning it differently, or one guy owns this and one guy owns this, well then you can't combine it. It cannot be combined. Apples and oranges.
80 acres, 140 acres, right?
One's 80 acres and one's 40 acres. Good? Yeah, I'm all about a hop. Please.
Oh.